Welcome to Dr. Teach Me to Parent. Glad you're with us again today, and got a great program for you. So sit down, get a cup of coffee, and kind of join us in our conversation today. And we welcome you to join us, but we also welcome Dr. Jennifer Smith, psychologist here locally in Fresno, who is going to comment today on a number of issues related to kids and families, and particularly families that live in an overseas environment or have traveled in overseas environments, and see what they experience as what we sometimes refer to as the third culture kid. So that's our general topic today, and glad you're with us. Have somebody join you. Give a call to somebody, and perhaps you'd have them join us in our conversation today as we begin to think regarding family life and how it affects you and how it affects your particular family. Now, before we start, let me put in perspective and give you just a little quote for you to think about and put this in perspective for our discussion today, okay? It says this: the great act of faith is when man decides he is not God. And I think that's kind of the comment that we want to think about, that, you know, we need each other. And we are not alone in this thing, and we don't live alone, and we don't take all the power and all the controls into our own hands. But we make sure that we have a dependence upon each other and upon others. So we're not God, but we do need a God to give us directions and give us strength and give us our underpinning of life. And then we kind of develop it as we move forward in our own families and our own personal life. So Jennifer, welcome. Glad to have you with us today. And you are a psychologist, and
yes, sir.
You are the executive director of what is known as the Link Care Center.
Correct.
Here in Fresno. Link Care Center is a counseling center, among other things, and we'll talk about that. So you have a counseling center that you actually provide counseling, psychological counseling, marriage and family counseling to a number of local families.
Sure. Yes. And beyond.
You do. And what do you mean beyond? What's the population that you actually serve?
Sure. We are a Christian counseling center, so we have that draw from people, but we also accept insurances and cash pay and all the different things. So we serve pastors, we serve missionaries from around the world, and anybody in our local community that is looking for some kind of counseling or emotional resources and support.
I see. Well, we're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
Because you serve a very unique population
Sure.
of people who have traveled around the world and people who lived around the world and bring to you kind of a world experience. And you need to meet them where they are. Sure. And help them. And often are going back to a foreign country, are they not?
Yes. Generally speaking, that's the idea, is that we send them back. Do a little repair work, patch you up, and then you get to go back and live out what God's called you to do.
Yeah, good.
Cross-culturally.
Good. Well, we'll talk about that a little bit at the end in terms of just kind of the services that Link Care provides. But you yourself, how did you grow up? What was the nature of your family life that you how you grew up and why you came into psychology as a field?
Oh, goodness. Okay. Well, I grew up here in Fresno, born and raised here, and started going to church when I was a teenager with some of my friends. So that was a pretty neat experience to find God that way. And I was a runner when I was younger. I was a competitive runner. So when it was time to go to college, that's what I was really interested in. And fortunately, God steered me toward Fresno Pacific. I got to do some training there. And then I went to Fuller Seminary for my graduate training. But yeah, it was a good, easier childhood in some respects. But God's used it in a lot of unique ways.
Do you have a kind of a high school, teenage kind of an experience that was kind of life-changing, life-shaping for you? Was your running kind of one of those things?
Running is definitely
was that kind of
yes.
one of the things that really shaped you as a person?
Right. Yeah, I didn't have, some trauma background or something that a lot of people that draws them into psychology, but running was also a huge place to build character and build community and build some of that stuff. So I'm a huge advocate for sports. I think if we can get our children into some of those kinds of contexts, it's a really powerful thing.
Tell me about that, because you think is it unique to be a runner, as compared to a child that grows up and becomes a soccer player or baseball or football or in drama or dance or whatever kids do. Do you think they're all the same, or are there unique advantages to something like running?
Well, yes, in some respects, running is an individual sport, so it's based largely on your efforts, your individual efforts, what you do for training, and then when it's time for the competition. But also, it's a team sport because we win events together, right? So it's very interesting in that way, rather than a soccer or a football, which is made up of a lot of people who have to do what they need to do. Yeah.
So there's different learning, experiences.
Yes.
But you were a runner, so you know what it's like to have to kind of do it yourself.
Persevere, yes.
Persevere
Run in the
through this whole thing
rain.
and do the training yourself in the darkness of the night by yourself.
Yes, very much.
It's a lonely world in some ways, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a lonely world.
It's very hard. My dad used to wake up at 5 a.m. and ride his bike alongside me while I'd run, and so it's very isolating in some ways, but...
So it became a family activity.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it kind of bonded you as a family, I assume, and...
they got into it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you encourage that with families? Is that one of the things that you would say to a family? Make sure your kids are in a sport and be part of it.
Maybe. My biggest pitch to families is find out what your kid's interested in, and that's your new favorite topic, your new favorite sport, your new favorite video game. Whatever your kid's interested in, grab that and go. That's now yours.
So you let the kid choose, so to speak.
Or, find their
You follow
niche.
the kid's kind of interest in development, and then you become part of that.
Yeah, if it's music, if it's a sport you don't know about, if it's art, whatever it is.
I like the part of the story that you said that your dad got up early in the morning.
My poor dad,
5 o'clock, and got on his bicycle and rode his bike along with you running up and down the streets or wherever
pretty
you ran.
pretty much.
But I mean, I think that's great family activity. It's good father-daughter, father-son kind of activity.
Right.
And I think actually in sports, this is one of the things that's almost called for, isn't it? Kind of the background of family support.
I know. Well, it's long hours, right? I mean, they're getting you to your event early before it even starts, and they're staying late, clean up afterwards, traveling out of town to do these things. So you better love it if you're going to be doing that.
Well, that's true, yeah. I'm a psychologist myself, and I can remember 2 families. Both of them had kids who were great in sports, excelled in their sports. One in ice skating, actually.
Oh, wow.
And one was in baseball. And the family never went to an event, never went to a practice, never went to a championship game, never went to a performance whatsoever, never. And those kids became bitter and angry and mad.
Huge missed opportunities. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. It's, I mean, if you consider, what makes you feel good, even individually, it's generally when people are interested in you and when they want to know more about you. So if I'm a little kid, I don't have a lot of control over my life. I don't have that much to offer. But if my parents think my running or my ice skating is the best thing they've ever seen, wow, I'm feeling pretty darn good about myself now.
That's right.
So it's, my parents did not miss any races. I would actually ask them not to come, but they knew it was important. Kind of instilled that value of self-worth in me early on.
As a psychologist at Link Care Center, as a counseling center, you just said that you serve, of course, families from all over the world.
Yeah.
These are families that kind of come to Fresno, come to Link Care, live there for a short period of time.
Yeah.
And while they're there, they get counseling. And you provide that kind of counseling program.
Yes.
What is it about an international family that causes them to kind of, I'll use the word breakdown perhaps, or
or
come
burn
to
out.
a point of a glitch in their life, and they need to come home, they need to come to America, they need to get into a counseling program so they can go back and do the work that they were doing. What is it about the couple or the family that lives across the world somewhere and has some difficulty?
Yes. It's interesting. I wish it was one thing, then we could fix that one thing maybe, and they would never have to worry about that. But I kind of see it on 2 ways. One, it could just be unresolved hurts, wounds, traumas from their past that come up now in the cross-cultural context, and now they need to come back stateside or somewhere to get some help. Or they're exposed to a lot of difficulties that we just don't have in America. And so then now you've got some other kind of trauma that you're trying to work through, debrief,
especially
settle
if you've had
into.
earlier trauma of some kind
Yeah.
that never was resolved, never
Right.
took care of.
Right.
And now you meet some new trauma,
Yes, that's good.
in a new country
Difficult.
and without help and without support, and you're all alone.
Yes, talk about being alone. Right.
Yeah.
There's most of these families are pretty isolated, and if they're Christian, right, and they're going across to a new nation to try and spread the gospel, sometimes they have to be careful about how that happens, how you do that. So that's even more isolating and just difficult to be able to process what's going
I'm
on.
interested in your comment about the trauma that you say many families experienced.
Yeah.
Many individuals experienced before they became a family, became adults, before they married, before they became a family. But they have this kind of trauma in their history, but never took care of it, never resolved it in some way. What's wrong about that?
Sure.
Why aren't we?
Right. Why would that
Why
be
are we
such a
dealing
bad
with these
deal?
things?
I know. At Link Care especially, we talk about two kinds of traumas. There's a little T trauma and a big T trauma. And the big T trauma is usually the stuff that's life-threatening. Think 9/11, massive earthquakes, big illness like we're facing nowadays with coronavirus. Those are big T traumas. Little T traumas are all the stuff like you're talking about your friend where the parents didn't come to any of their events. That's a wound that sits inside of me and just kind of goes the rest of my life.
Never gets resolved. Yeah.
Those are the ones that I think you're referring to where, well, why would we have to circle back around to them? Some people go their whole lives, they don't need to circle back around at all. You just don't get re-triggered, or I think I see this a lot with families because now you have children and you're experiencing life with your children and you're remembering, oh yeah, when I was 8 and my dad went away for 6 months and I was scared about where he went.
That's right.
And now I'm, here or whatever.
Yeah, you think of families that are, military families
Military
where dad's
families,
gone.
yeah.
You think of families in the church or missionaries
Right.
that, where they leave and go and
Right.
come back maybe after 6 months or something like that. A lot of churches, have those kind of experiences.
Yeah, makes me
And
scared.
kind of just leave you alone, and kids are sometimes abandoned, or at
Yes.
least they feel they're abandoned.
Right,
And
right.
It may not be, but they may feel that
Yeah.
way. And then they get into some situation where they felt abandoned again,
Right.
and now
Marriage.
we're bringing
And
up
here
old
we are
stuff.
again. Yep. I mean, I think about marriages. Marriage is hard, and it's very easy to re-trigger my partner, right? If you didn't meet me where my expectations were, now I think, oh, great, you don't care about me, which maybe that was a childhood wound or something that I need to look at again. I don't know. I mean, the missionaries that we see, it always strikes me they're the same as us. They have the same issues that we have.
So if there's somebody listening today that has some trauma in their history,
Yeah.
and they've never dealt with it, never really admitted it, never really acknowledged it publicly. Maybe they feel it, maybe they're aware of it, know about it, but they've kept it a private little secret.
Yeah.
What's your word to them?
Well, I would encourage you to think about what you're doing to deal with the trauma, because it's something you're dealing with it on some level. Whether I'm watching too much TV or how are you distracted? What's the thing the vice that you're using? But also, it's not that scary, actually. I mean, it might feel like, oh gosh, I'm jumping off this cliff right now if I'm going to delve into it. And the reality is, if you could get some good support, like a therapist, some kind of counselor, it probably would feel so much better to look at it, to expose it.
Get it behind you. Get it past you.
Just look at it. It's but you need to do it probably in a supportive context. I don't
Are most people looking
know about
at
doing
maybe
it by yourself.
10 hours of therapy for that, or like 2 hours, or
Oh gosh, I
a
wish
whole
I
year
knew.
of therapy?
Yeah,
I
who
mean, that's what
knows?
people wonder about. What am I getting
How long is
myself
this going to
into?
go on? Yeah, I mean, our goal is to always work ourselves out of a job. I don't want you here for the rest of your life. I want to be able to give you enough tools that you could do this in your environment forever. So probably we're looking at I don't know how long it'll take to get you to that level.
Sure.
It depends on where the individual is at in terms of how much support they have and their own emotional
I think there's some
awareness.
research that shows maybe 6 sessions of therapy would be kind of an average that, to kind of face some of the traumas of your past, some of the unfortunate experiences you've had in your past, and just kind of get that behind you. Get
Yep.
it resolved. Get it minimized and desensitized to it.
Yep.
And then move on with life. I mean,
Yeah. We like to ask for, we have a pastoral care program at Link Care that offers 5 free sessions for pastors. So 5 is sort of a little number that
Sure.
we've used. So I like to get you to 5 and then ask you at the end of that, how's it going? What do you think?
Yeah.
Are you needing more? But yeah, constantly be evaluating it.
well, let's talk about that.
Sure.
Let's talk about pastors.
Oh, sure.
I mean, that's an unusual subpopulation within our community.
Yeah.
Men and women who kind of sometimes feel alone.
Yeah.
Maybe don't have a lot of people to communicate with, confide in, have some very special communications with. They need counseling. Many of them
Many.
need counseling. Many would benefit from it, even if they don't know that or if they don't
Right.
recognize that they
Right.
need it.
Yeah.
But certainly would benefit from it if they made that available. So at Link Care Center, you have free sessions
Yes.
for counselor for
For
pastors.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't a pastor do that?
Sure. I mean, some of it could just be stigma, right? That I'm the pastor. I should
be
know how to
strong
deal
and
with this.
positive and
Yeah.
capable of anything.
God will meet me in the prayer life for sure. But also, I think what you say too, there's a stigma there. I mean, who am I going to talk to if I'm a pastor? I'm supposed to be leading this congregation. I'm not going to disclose all of my yuckiness, So I think there's that, but I think finances are an issue. That's a hard deal to pay for therapy.
But most pastors have have insurance, health insurance of some form.
Yeah.
And many churches will pay
for 'em.
for their services out of their budget.
Yes.
I mean, I assume.
Yes.
But pastors would be wise. Why it would be a good thing for a pastor just to say, okay, I'm going to take 5 sessions of counseling, whether I need it or not.
Right.
I'm just going to submit myself to 5 sessions and just see if I can strengthen myself or sharpen my thinking in certain areas. Would that be a wise thing to do?
Yes, that would be incredibly brave and courageous too. I mean, I think going back to what we were talking about earlier, this is terrifying to put yourself in front of a stranger, for all intents purposes, right? A counselor, and disclose things that you don't want to talk about. I don't want to talk about the shadow parts of myself or the stuff that's not super shiny, but real positive things tend to come out of that. I think I am biased as a therapist, but you tend to know about your weaknesses a little bit better then, and you don't operate out of weakness. You can now operate from another plateau of health and support. They
I
wouldn't.
can assume that one might be true of almost anybody. It might just be wise.
Yes.
To kind of
Everybody
say,
should be in therapy.
I'm going to take 5 sessions with somebody. I'm going to find a counselor
Yeah.
out there, that will meet with me 5 times to just see if I can overcome some of the things that I've been thinking about or just have some discussion on them and maybe understand them better.
It's, just dedicated time just for yourself, right? The whole hour is just about you. And we're not going to talk about me as the therapist. We're just going to really delve into what's going on, what your needs are right now. Most of us, especially pastors and missionaries, don't take that kind of time.
No, we don't. No,
Our
we
lives
don't.
are about serving others.
Yeah.
And so
Everybody's busy, and it's easy to say, well, I have so much to do, I don't have time for that. I mean, it's an excuse.
you sure?
But
Well, what's an hour? I mean, come on. Everybody's got an hour once a week, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It can be done.
I think so.
But I would recommend that.
I would too. Yes.
I mean, if you are in a helping profession, let's broaden this a little
Yes.
bit. Not just pastors, not just missionaries, but nurses and doctors and people who have great demands on them.
Yep.
Because they serve other people.
I know.
And other people bring problems, and other people make demands, and sometimes the hours are long and excessive. Maybe that would be a wise thing for, we just call it the whole helping profession, if so to speak.
Right. Any service person, firefighters and policemen. I mean, the stories that they are hearing, and the nurses, right? The stories you're
You
hearing
think of
every
EMT,
day. Yes.
the ambulance drivers and what they have to
Yes.
face and situations they're in. I mean, all of these people
know.
just go through trauma. It's not my trauma, but it's
Nope.
a trauma of somebody
Right.
else.
Secondary.
But I share it. I
Yep.
live it. I experience it.
Yep. Yeah. So to have that corner of your week that you're able to, or a couple times a month, it doesn't have to be every week, but that little pocket of time that you say, you know what, I'm that important. My health is that important. Otherwise, we risk burnout. which
sure.
is another factor we see in our missionaries that come with us. You can't work like that without a consequence.
Well, it takes its toll.
Yeah.
We see it in terms of like being tired.
Right.
Or something we see it in terms of, I'm frustrated or irritated or easily upset.
Yeah.
Now, you may not know what that is all about, but it can come from the fact that you've just lived a life of trauma, somebody else's trauma,
Yeah.
all the time. Every day you
Yeah.
enter the world of somebody else's trauma.
Yes. Yes. Put all your stuff on hold to deal with other people.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's really hard to sustain.
So a place like Link Care Counseling Center,
Yeah.
where are you located, by the way?
So we're this little haven on Shaw and West, tucked in off of Shaw a little bit. We have 8.5 acres there. So when people drive into the campus, they're very surprised. I didn't know this place existed. But yeah, it's this little pocket in there.
So you actually, as a counseling center, work with anybody from the community.
Yes.
I mean, they wouldn't have to be a pastor or missionary or
Not at all.
somebody from the church background or whatever.
Not even
They
Christian,
would just
right?
Anybody.
Right. Yep. It's pretty remarkable the the spectrum that we see there. I mean, we have severe mental illness that comes through, and then we have some people that are maybe, just looking to, like we were talking about, have a little space for me to be safe and process, so it's kind of just varies.
So before we move on to another topic, if you have a pastor out there that's watching and being part of our audience, or you have somebody who's in the church ministry of some kind, whatever, what's your message to them?
Yeah. Well, our pastor friends, our missionary friends, we are here to serve you. We would be honored to walk alongside of you during any season that you find yourself in. Very skilled therapists that are available at any time. Nothing's too big and nothing's too minor. Everything is important. We'd be happy to look at
That's
it with
right.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a group of kids that are special.
Yeah.
And they're probably special to you. We call these the third culture kids.
Sure.
There are a number of children that raised in a family in another culture.
Right.
Maybe they were born in America or born in some country, but they go and live in another country.
Yep.
And they serve people and they go to school with other kids from that other country. And what's the meaning of this idea of the third culture kid? What does that mean?
Sure. I mean,
Who are they?
It's a category to help us understand the unique experiences of these children that, kids in general don't have a lot of choices and they
Sure.
don't have a lot of power and control over their life. But third culture kids, especially, their parents took them to another culture that they didn't choose during
That's
a season
right.
of their life that they're not necessarily choosing, and they have to make it.
And maybe
right?
you're not so happy about even.
Usually not.
You know,
Yeah.
going to
Sometimes
some
they're
other
excited,
country,
but
meaning
yeah.
going to school with kids that are so different from
So
themselves.
different.
And
Or no school at all. I'm homeschooled because
Yeah.
I have to learn language or something. But yeah, so it's just the context of those kinds of children that are American. I mean, they're citizens of America, but they don't call America their home generally. It's hard for them to even identify or articulate what home would be as far as culture. So they're parts of a lot of cultures.
Sure, yeah. We have kids that are American and grew up in another culture.
Yeah.
And lived most of their young life in another culture. Yeah. And still to this very day, as they move into their adult years, think of themselves as not Americans.
Yeah,
Think of
yeah.
themselves as being part of that other culture that they lived in as a kid. That's their home. That's their culture.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
their country.
I'm Japanese, but
Sure.
I'm American. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So it's a conflict. Am I American or am I not?
Right.
Am I German or am I Japanese or am I,
So I know. Yeah.
Rwandan or whatever,
Right.
it might be. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because, there's formative years, right? And
That's right.
if we go back to our developmental Psych 101 classes, there's things that we're trying to accomplish as kids in certain pockets of our time. And you think about building identity
Sure.
in your preteen years or your
That's
teen
when
years,
it's formed.
but you're doing it in another culture.
Yeah.
That's a really tricky space to
And
be
often
in.
with kids that are so very different from yourself.
Exactly.
And that either you become like them
Sure.
or you reject them.
You adopt it or not. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's really a conflict there.
I think so.
We're going to take a break, and when we come back, I want to ask you that question as to what's the message to these kids that are going to another culture
Sure.
or have already gone and now living in another culture
Right.
that are listening to our program.
Okay.
I mean, we are listened to by people all over the world.
Yeah.
So, what can we say that would be helpful to families and to these kids that in a different culture and think of themselves as a non-American
Okay.
third culture kid?
Right.
Okay, we'll do that when we come
Okay,
back and
sounds great.
get a cup of coffee and join us in just a few moments and pick up our ads. It'd be good for you to listen to. Okay.
The Green Gables Care Home is a 24-hour assisted living facility for the elderly located in Clovis, California, offering spacious private and semi-private rooms which are wheelchair approved, catering to the special person in your life who needs attention and wants to live in a loving home environment. The Green Gables Care Home has assisted living in secured homes for elderly with Alzheimer's, memory loss, and for your loved ones needing assistance with their activities of daily living. Call 559-297-9438 and visit greengablescarehome.com.
Sometimes good intentions hurt rather than help. For just $1.76 per meal, the Fresno Rescue Mission offers more than food. We offer hope. Please donate today.
Do you need a locksmith? Layman's Lock and Safe Service and Repair is available for you. 559-228-1805.
Gained a lot, learned a lot, and got a lot of love. If it weren't for the knowledge that I had gained from the classes at PCC, I probably wouldn't be the mom I am today. See, there it goes.
I would love you to meet my son Aaron. My situation was very difficult. I didn't know how my life was going to turn out.
We graduated in June 2010 and we got married in July. And through family, the Pregnancy Care Center changed our lives.
The Pregnancy Care Center was a huge, vital part in helping me walk through that pregnancy, in educating me and loving on me during that time.
Choosing a Medicare plan can be difficult and frustrating. Susan Hatch can guide you through the Medicare maze and help find the right plan for you. Susan helps people understand the confusing and drastic changes that occur every year in Medicare. Susan will only recommend plans that will protect your assets and allow you to continue to see your personal doctor. As a 100% independent agent, Susan is not controlled by any particular insurance company to steer a person onto any one particular plan. Susan was awarded the #1 Medicare supplement agent in California. Look for Susan's Medicare question and answers every Monday in the Fresno Bee. Call Susan at 559-307-2287 and visit MedicareToday.net.
The in-house services we offer here are Total Life Change, anger management, one-on-one biblical counseling. We do a marriage enrichment, codependency and chemical dependency one-on-one counseling. We have a relapse prevention piece. We also do a lot of workshops where we inform and educate people on different topics. There is one-on-one individual sessions, and we also have group therapy that we work in a group. We find that can be so advantageous when you know you're not alone. The key is to call, email, online, and get a hold of one of the receptionists here, and we will do an assessment. We are not here to direct, guide, and force. We're here to meet you where you're at, then direct, then guide, and then give you options to break free.
All right, welcome back to Dr. Teach Me to Parent. Glad you're with us again. And you got your cup of coffee now. We're going to pick up our discussion here with Dr. Jennifer Smith, who is a psychologist, but the CEO of the Link Care Center. Link Care Center has a counseling center associated with it. And the counseling center serves people from the community, but also serves people all around the world. People that come here to Fresno from other countries, spend a few days or weeks or months at Link Care and live there, and then have a counseling program provided for them. And particularly families with kids from the third world or from another country. And what we'd like to do now is just kind of ask you, Jennifer, that question about these third culture kids. American kids, American born perhaps,
Right.
live in a different country. They're half and half.
Right.
Maybe they're 1/3,
Third,
2/3, or
yeah.
whatever it is. And they have to blend together their life around another culture.
Yes.
That's got to be a tough thing for a kid.
Yes.
How does a kid do that?
How does a kid do that? Yes, as best they can.
What's your advice to
How
the
do I-
kids that
yeah.
are in that kind of situation? I mean, what do they do? Do they choose, or
Sure.
do they just try to blend a little bit of everything?
I think the temptation is that I will feel better if I can be 100% in this culture or that culture. But probably the reality is that if the sooner you can accept that you're a little bit of both, the better off we're going to be. So acknowledging and making the best of wherever you're at. So if now I'm in Mexico and I've got to learn a whole new language and I don't have my friends in my school, embrace that. You won't live there forever. And this could be a really cool opportunity that God's given you to learn about a whole new place. New people and all of those kinds of things. So if we can look at it from that perspective, I think you'll get a lot out of it.
I mean, in a sense,
You're gaining a
you're
lot.
learning a new language, but you're learning a new culture. You're learning people, how they live, how they think.
Your
how they
firsthand
make
experience
decisions.
of that, yeah. Which you would never get stateside, right?
So actually, you're getting an education on top of an
This
education.
is true. You're so lucky.
I mean, in a
Yes,
way, they really
I
are
agree.
very
Yeah.
fortunate to get that perspective of a different country.
Right.
That most of kids from America don't have.
Never. Right. We may never get.
Never have.
Right. No, definitely. I mean, I never got anything close to that. Even if I was super good friends with somebody from another culture, the reality is we live here. So I think there's that piece, and then the second part I would say is use your family. You know, I know you might be upset with them, your parents, for dragging you into a new space that you didn't want to go to, but they're doing it too, right? They're adjusting and they're learning about a new culture, and they would probably be the best people to process your discomfort with. So I would
They have that
encourage
same discomfort.
Generally,
we don't think of that, do we?
yeah.
We think that the parents made the choice to go to another country. The kid didn't make that choice.
Right.
The kid was dragged there. But actually, they're both going through that same experience
Yeah.
of having to adjust and learn and feel comfortable in and know how to navigate the world in another part of the world.
Right. And the beauty nowadays, I mean, I could talk about this more later, the other end of this coin, but our technology is so incredible nowadays. So for our kids to be able to communicate with other people is a helpful resource. It doesn't, not just the parents, but maybe grandparents back stateside, or my friends, or somebody in another part of the world that kind of understands what I'm going through too. It is powerful.
So you see these kids kind of who are growing up in another country as going to be lucky kids in a way.
I
They're
think
very
so.
fortunate.
I
to
love
have that
talking to those
experience.
kids. Yeah. I was like, what do you guys? What are the foods that you miss? You know, what are the foods that you're excited about eating? What's the weather like there? It's the pastimes, the fun games to play are so different than in the U.S. So I think it's really incredible
They
opportunity.
may not necessarily agree.
Not yet, yeah.
But you're already saying these kids really are lucky to have that kind of broadening experience. Maybe not today they'll think that way, but maybe they
Hopefully
will
someday.
10, 20 years from now.
Yeah.
They'll look back upon that as being the most wonderful thing ever happened in their life.
Yeah. I mean, you'll miss stuff for sure about your life, you know, back home. But again, this is short-lived. It feels like forever when you're a kid.
Sure.
But
I think of our own grandkids who grew up in another culture.
yeah.
And, just the ability to travel
That
on their
too,
own. They can go anywhere in the
yes.
world. They've been in, 40 different countries.
Wow.
And, they can go anywhere. They can travel. They can find their way.
Yep.
The average kid can't do that.
No, not at all. They don't know what to do.
The average kid can't even take a taxi cab.
Nope. Or a bus. Yeah,
Oh.
I wouldn't know how to read a bus map. I mean, these are you are learning skills for your life that are invaluable, that we don't get so insulated here. You know, even in Fresno, it's a safe little nest egg, right? And we're not exposed to so much. It's good for you.
So what's your message to families that are in another culture, that are watching our program today? They're in Sweden, or they're in Asia somewhere, or wherever.
Yeah.
What's your message to them that...
I think the biggest thing I want to say to families, even in the U.S., is this is so important, what God has brought you to and the children that God has given you. Parenting is one of the greatest responsibilities in the world that will ever happen, bigger than any job, I think. And so take it real seriously and really delve into your kids and really nurture them, be interested in them, and just enjoy them. It's goes by so fast. It's just very quick, right? But if we can start with that basis, I think we can address some of the harder issues that pop up, right? I mean, there's hard stuff, but let's start there with, I just love this. This is such an important job. And then we can move into the rest of it. Don't resent your job.
Might even become pleasant and acceptable.
I would hope so.
Yeah, sure.
I think God rewards it.
Yeah. You know, you said that you, as a psychologist, spend a lot of time counseling kids, families.
Yes.
And you have a little specialty of counseling teenagers.
Adolescents, yes.
So if you're a teenager, we're going to talk to you a little bit. I'm going to have Dr. Smith kind of just talk to you a little bit. What's the thing about teenagers today that concerns you? Problematic, bothersome to you?
Yeah.
What's the concern you have for our teenagers today?
I think the hardest thing that faces any teenager is about fitting in and is about learning my identity and who I am. And I think the message I constantly say to teens is it's okay if you change it. Just because you hung out with this crowd right now doesn't mean you can transform and be something else later. You're not stuck in what you chose initially. But also really, really, really having older people in your life that can speak into what's going on and who you are. Your peer group is not the authority on your life and what's important right now, but aunts, uncles, mentors, youth pastors, these kinds of people.
That's a tough message when you say that, you know, your peer group is not
I know.
where you get your best advice and you get your best guidance in life. It's part of your world, and it's an important part of your world. But there's got to be even a better source when you're looking for advice and direction and making decisions.
Always, yeah. Your peer group is very powerful and resourceful because they're going through what you're going through. So they understand what it means to be sheltered in place when you're a senior in high school and you've just been looking forward to this year your whole life. They're great people to process it with. But receiving advice from them about how to handle it and what to do maybe isn't, because a lot of us want to short circuit our emotions, right? I don't want to sit and feel yucky, angry, sad, scared. I don't want to do that.
Sure.
I want something else. So vaping has become really big and powerful. Maybe some self-harm. Feels like I can escape it for a little bit of time. That's where I really want some authority people in life to say, let's put this in perspective. You're going to have to deal with it sometime. Let's just deal with it now.
Well, flip that around in terms of the teenager today. The strength, the ability, the advantages, or the good stuff that's going on in their life.
Yeah.
What is it?
Yeah. Well, I think they have access to more than ever before, which is really beneficial in a lot of ways if we can use it wisely. It also can provide a lot of anxiety for us because I'm inundated all the time.
Sure.
But yeah, I think that their access to resources really strengthens their ability to manage things, which is great, and learn.
Yeah.
You have a lot of learning opportunities.
So really a teenager today has opportunity to kind of expand his knowledge, his database, so to speak, his experience, to have information available of all kinds?
That, and to connect with people all over the world. So I did say, yeah, maybe if you're living in the U.S. your whole life and you're kind of insulated, you don't get all those experiences that you might get as a TCK, but you also have access to a lot of things, any kind of social media to connect with people all around the world, which is a really, talk about being Facebook friends. We've been Facebook friends for 15 years. I've never actually met you in person. That's a reality that a lot of our kids are facing, which pros and cons with it. But I think if we look at it from the positive side, you could really have good access and good challenges in your life from social media or something.
So what's the one thing about a teenager today that it really is either a great positive strength or could do them in? That would be where they're vulnerable, where they're really at risk. Where would you put your finger in the sense of saying, this is an area that you can develop further, or you need to kind of walk away from? Or maybe both.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose it boils down to their ability to deal with difficult issues. So when I'm faced with adversity, when I'm faced with problems, how do I first deal with it? Do I go to ignoring, distancing kind of things, or do I just go ahead and face it with some self-efficacy, which is believing that I can address it. I know where to go. So like take the TCK kid, our third culture kid, for example. This is a person that can get on buses, can travel around the world, can access resources. When that child is faced with something difficult, they already have faced a lot of difficulties in their life, so they probably could deal with it, have a few more skills versus the kid whose parents brought their homework to school to them whenever they forgot it, or rescued them and made their lunch every single day and didn't allow them to face anything hard. So that's where I see it. And then the kids just tend to pick up whatever they can to distract themselves, whether it's social media kinds of things or self-harm or drugs.
Well said. Let me have you flip it again in terms of this, the parent. Where do you put your finger in terms of a parent, where a parent really is in need of having a particular skill? If they're going to raise children and teenagers particularly, what's a skill that a parent really needs to have? What's the attitude or the approach or the way of thinking?
Yep. I think I think of like palms open, just openness and availability. You're not going to get it right. It's not about getting it right. It's about being flexible and adapting. Because you have enough kids, they're all going to be very different, right? I mean, they're not all going to follow the same path. Any parent can tell you this. And so if you're able to really lean into the awkwardness and the not knowing, you'll be all right, because there's so many resources for us. You don't have to create it. You just have to embrace it and lean into it. So I think the parents whose eyes are wide open, who are looking at their kids going, oh, that's a new thing you're doing? Instead of ignoring it and hoping it's a phase and it goes away. Lots of
we were talking about this earlier, too, that maybe the same idea would be very helpful for a parent of a teenager. Just to find a counselor. Spend 5 hours, 5 sessions, once a month or whatever, just reviewing parenting and reviewing kids' personality and lifestyle and what would be helpful to them as a family to strengthen. Not to bring the whole family into it, not to bring the kid to counseling necessarily, but just as parents, sit down and say, how are we doing? What do we need to sharpen? What are the skills we need to develop and sharpen?
Well, you're asking a scary question. That's a real vulnerable position to be in as a parent, right?
It is.
Hey, I'd like for you to tell me what I could do differently to support you. Parents don't want to talk about that. That's really scary.
No, because we think we know everything.
We think we know,
or
we're supposed to know.
We should know everything because we're parents,
So yes, I agree with you 100%. And the thing I tell the kids that I see when they come in is, you're not here because you're bad or because you messed up or you're a problem in some way. You're here because the whole system needs to address some things. We need to recalibrate and look at something differently. It's the same as we would do in our individual lives, I think, right? Every couple of years, it's important that we take a step back and look again and say, is this working for me? Is my self-care routine even helping anymore? Do I need to do something different? But yes, if the parents can allow their kids the freedom to really lean into the therapy process, big changes happen. Great things come of it.
Actually, you're thinking in terms of what a family could become.
Yes.
Investing 5 hours.
Yes.
It might be more, but at least that minimum.
I know.
Of saying, could you as a family really become stronger, become more focused, become more supportive of each other, more bonded with each other,
Right.
more forward-looking, and develop some of the skills that are within the family. Just develop. What are they?
Yeah.
And how to develop them a little bit better.
Yeah. Because if you're a person that says, my kid is really important to our system, and my kid has some important things to share with me, you will change. God will use all of those things. And I think you have to change. I think it's the only way you can grow. You got to be a little bit uncomfortable, and then you will grow.
There you are.
And that is a really cool thing that we get to see.
Link Care Center has been in Fresno
Yeah.
since the early 70s. And you serve people from Fresno.
Yep.
Families that come and participate in counseling and other services you have, sessions, classes, and various kind of things. And then people from all over the world, that come here. About half and half, would you
Sure,
say, or
right.
what is it?
Yeah. Our program it flexes. Summertime sees a lot more people because they're on furlough. Maybe the missionaries are. So then we kind of lean that way heavily. Yeah. So it depends. But I would say probably about 50-50.
About 50-50. So what is the service that you actually provide people from other countries?
For the missionaries,
Yeah.
yeah. So we have a program that they can come into, and you don't have to all start at once. We can kind of matriculate people in all throughout, but they have, a lot of great resources as far as therapy is concerned. Everybody's in individual therapy twice a week. Everybody's in marital therapy twice a week, pastoral care twice a week, men's group, women's group, kids group. We have a community group. So there's all these resources that happen all throughout the week, kind of an intensive model of therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And we do it in like 4-week increments. So you start there for a month, and then many times people extend. Our research has actually
Maybe go
shown
to 2 months or whatever, what you're saying.
Yeah.
But at least a month of getting that kind of intense
Therapy.
discussion with the therapist and picking up ideas from each other and sharing with each other and bonding together. I assume
Processing.
people from different countries all have one thing in common.
Right.
They're from different countries.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, they love it. They love it. The opportunity, so they live on our campus. They have their own apartment, and they live there. And then the opportunity to, integrate with other families and process what's been going on in their lives and their marriages and with their children is incredibly powerful.
So how would a family or person from some other country contact you if they just thought this might be helpful?
Sure.
They're going to be coming back to America this summer or whatever. This might be a good thing to do for a month and just kind of live here in Fresno at Link here and participate in a program like that.
Right.
How do they connect with it? How do they come to you?
So there's probably 2 ways to do it. One would be through your member care person in your organization. So you would contact that person, let them know you're struggling. What are my resources? And they would reach out to us, and we would initiate the application, all the intake. And then the other is you can just contact us directly through our website. There's a link in there, or an email is generally what people do. The email, and then our point person starts the conversation of, okay, this is what we can really offer you. And because we shy away from taking certain types of issues like actively suicidal, for instance. That's not something we can really support. You need to be stable before you come onto campus, or actively substance abusing. But so there's a little weeding out process that might happen. But yeah, they can just contact us directly on our website. Be easy.
So in other words, being in another country, this is a resource.
Yes.
They don't have to be Americans to do this, I assume.
Right,
I mean, they just need to come here to.
Yeah, we've had a lot of people that aren't even Americans. Yep. Work with different languages and barriers that exist there in our assessments, but it's okay. We can do that, and we have resources available for it.
Yeah. What about somebody who is going out of the American culture to another culture for the first time?
Right.
Maybe they're missionaries. Maybe they're going on some kind of an assignment for a period of time to some other country. do you help them prepare for that, or?
Yes. Our program right now is not centered on that, but it has in the past. We've had like candidate assessments where we talk with people who are getting ready to go out, any trouble areas that might come up for you, and how can we prepare for it. But it's a niche that we can serve. It's not as popular and as common to do. Most of the time, our agencies do that. Your individual mission agency would prep you and send you out. But yes, we are available for that as well. Mm-hmm. Usually we see it more locally with our churches in Fresno that are sending missionaries short term. They would contact us and say, can you see them before and can you see them after? And
sure. So we may have a couple sessions before they go, a certain number of sessions after they come back.
Yes. Yeah. What was it like?
Help them benefit from that experience, I gather,
I know.
so that it's a successful experience.
Right. The debriefing model is powerful, right?
It
what
is.
surprised you about this? What was hard about this? That's really helpful to do.
So you're a resource that maybe a lot of people don't know about.
Probably. We're hidden back there, and they live their whole lives in Fresno and don't know about us.
Yeah. God, you've talked about all these different populations of people.
Oh boy, yes.
That really could benefit from a service if they just knew that it was available.
Right.
And took the initiative to contact you and say, how can you be of help to me?
Exactly, yes.
Yeah. And then you'd work out something.
Yes, short term, long term, whatever it needs to be. We've had people that come and end up staying here for a time, 6 months, 8 months, or something like that. Yep, whatever you want it to be.
Okay. Well, we appreciate your being here today.
Yeah,
this was a great conversation. Link Care Center on Shaw Avenue.
Yep, right out there on Shaw.
And so that's where you hang out and spend your time, but anybody here in town.
Right, it would be a pleasure to meet you. Absolutely. Contact us and let's see what we can do.
Hey, let me give you a quote, and I want you to comment about the quote as we wrap it up today.
Okay.
And put this in perspective from what we've been talking about, okay? Parents can only give good advice or put them in the right path. But the final forming of a person's character lies in their own hands.
Yes.
So, what's your comment to that?
Yes, there's the tendency in therapy to rehash all the things that my parents did wrong, right? And then blame it on them and not take any responsibility. The reality is you have a frontal lobe. Your brain is very powerful in critical thinking. And so at some point, you've got to switch your model into what am I in control of? And how do I had these experiences or this event, but what do I want it to become? And what kind of a human, what kind of a person do I want to be? You're in charge of that. Yeah.
Parents can, set the initial path.
They start it.
It's a very good path. It's straight and right on the money. Other times it's crooked and
that's okay too.
Not going anywhere.
Right.
But that's the beginning.
Yes.
But as you say, at some point you have to shift a model and you have to say, now it's my path.
Right.
I walk it.
Yep. Which is what therapy, I think, is all about. Absolutely.
Helping them get the right walk.
Get in charge of my life and line it up. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having
me today. And this has been a good conversation. I appreciate you joining us. And if you are watching today and you need just a little bit of a tune-up, Link Care Center. Do you have a telephone number?
Yes, it's 559-439-2647.
Say it one more time.
559-439-2647.
So anybody can take advantage.
Yes, please do.
Of your service on that particular point.
We're here for you.
So thanks for joining us today.
Thanks.
And get hold of my book, Dr. Teach Me to Parent. You can pick that up on Amazon or you can get it from my website, which is on the screen in front of you, Dr. Teach Me to Parent. And the good word is that I've just created a online parenting class or a parenting course based on this book, and it's called Parenting Better. And we're going to get that word out to you soon as to how you can access that. But if you'd like to take a class or you need to take a class in parenting, here's an online course for you that you could devote a little time to and just learn your parenting skills. In particular, somebody who is in another culture.
Yes.
It's all online, so
that's
that it's
great.
Available anywhere around the world.
Resource.
So it's called Parenting Better. So we'll get that word to you in due time. Okay. Thanks for joining us today, and bye for now.
Bye.
a dentist who has a passion for superior aesthetics and comfort, you need Dr. Christopher Wong with Cedar North Dental. Call 559-432-4948 or visit cedarnorthdental.com.
Tanya, come here. At Boys and Girls Clubs, it's not just about trying new things.
Kitchen in my hometown.
It's not about learning the right steps. 4 or making contact.
5, 6, 7,
8. It's not about exploring the future. It's about helping them build it. It's about taking steps to greatness. About making a connection. It's about proving every kid and teen has what it takes. It's about people in our clubs who bring out the greatness in every kid who enters our doors. It's not just about being on stage. It's about walking across it. Great futures start here, and here, and here.
Sat7 is a Christian media network that uses uncensored satellite television to broadcast across the Middle East and North Africa, and is also available globally online.